Afternoon, boys. As we all know, playoffs around the corner. Some of the best and richest competition in football, as we know, and they're definitely one of the most anticipated. So, as we know, there's two games. I think we'll start off with Brentford and Bournemouth, third versus sixth. Luke, what are your thoughts? I know it's early, but what are your thoughts on the game? So at the minute.
I'm still looking at the playoff fixtures. Brentford versus Bournemouth could be the one that sparks definitely probably the most goals because both have got the definitely the could argue which ones. I think both of them have got the strongest squads. Definitely, they've got a lot of firepower in both squads. Obviously, Bournemouth have got a lot of players on double figures. So have obviously Brentford with the likes of Ivan Toney, who ended up actually breaking the Championship goal scoring record, took Glenn Murray's accolade. But no, I think it's tough. It's very tough to call because obviously Bournemouth have been sort of on the you could call it a revival almost of the season because obviously they looked like they were slipping out of it really badly, but they've pulled it back, and it wasn't surprising if Brentford threw it away. They have thrown a lot of easy winnable games this season.
A lot of draws. I think Bournemouth have lost the last 3 games, if I'm correct. So
yeah,
sometimes form does matter, sometimes it doesn't. I think in these games, just a matter of who's up for occasion, who can handle pressure. I think a big thing with the playoffs is, like you said, Ivan Toney or not Danjuma. It's all right having a good cohesive unit, but them players that can provide magic. We've seen it multiple times in playoffs. The teams them players who can produce magic are important. Matt, what's your thoughts on Brentford Bournemouth?
Well, it's like you say, it's the one that sparks the most goals, isn't it? It's the one that kind of brings the Championship playoffs to life. And Bournemouth are going to have a real hard time keeping Ivan Toney quiet up front. His 31 goals. It speaks for itself, really, doesn't it? And then, obviously, you've got Bournemouth with the likes of Solanke, obviously Danjuma. I think Danjuma's been one of the best wingers in the entire league this season. So I think Brentford are going to have a difficult time keeping hold of him as well. So both sides have got really good attacks. But when you look at the form, Brentford have won the last 4 and Bournemouth have lost the last 3. So you would think it should be Brentford's going into it, but the playoffs are a lottery, isn't it? So, anything could happen, really.
I think Brentford are in the best form at minute, but I think they haven't got the best record against other top 6 teams. I think Barnsley have got the best. They're unbeaten against top 6 teams. But as we've seen a lot of times, Brentford draw a lot of games, especially against these big games, important games. They're throwing away lots of points that we've seen this season. So it's tough to call because we don't know what situation. Someone might get injured or whatever. But that's beauty at playoffs, anticipation. Will, what do you think about Bournemouth Brentford?
It's a strange one, really. They're the 2 clubs that I thought would be in the final should a different scenario have happened. Look, like Matty said, the playoffs is a lottery. Anything can happen. We've seen clubs like Huddersfield in a similar boat, with all due respect to Barnsley being in there and Reading when they got to the final. Don't get me wrong, Barnsley have had a phenomenal season, but you ask most people, and I'm assuming the bookies are having them as the lowest favourites to go up. For me, I think Brentford stand the strongest chance of going through based on form and their squad. But, I mean, Brentford-Bournemouth is going to be an incredible game because, like I said, those are the 2 I thought would be in the final anyway.
Them 2 played each other over a weekend, a couple of weeks ago. A brilliant game I was watching on Sky. I think Bournemouth are missing Lloyd Kelly and Lewis Cook, I believe. So, 2 big players, but I think Bournemouth have got best midfield at Championship. Quality in that midfield's ridiculous. I'm not sure Brentford have got many players missing, apart from Rico Henry and Da Silva. I think that's it. So, it'll be fascinating. I think them 2 are missing for the first leg. They might be back for the second. But, as you say, it's one that will spark the most goals, one that most people will be watching, and 2 teams that could definitely be Prem next season. All right. We'll move on to Swansea Barnsley now. So Matt's here. Talk about your club. Swansea starting off. What are your thoughts on the game, Luke?
It could be it could turn into a very interesting game either way, because Swansea up until a certain point it looked like they were going to take the second spot. They were flying form. They were doing excellent in a lot of things. I think that maybe if they for example had like Brewster from last season like for this season, I think they would have kept that second spot, but they've obviously dropped into the playoffs. Could be quite interesting. Obviously, they've got quite a good midfield as well. A lot of players in there, quite good. They've got all round talent, but they have had some luck this season. I have to say. Obviously, with Barnsley, they've kept the very attacking, high pressing, very dominant style of play. The defenders have certainly been at the top of the stats list for a lot of things this season. Things like goals, things everything like that. Barnsley's defence has been solid even on the attack. So I think that if Barnsley can do what they've done all season, keep it tight, tight at the back and good attack, then they should have a chance. But still, they've lost to both games to Swansea this season, so Swansea could just turn up like they have done in a lot of games this season and make it an easy victory. We simply don't know.
I think thing is with Swansea, especially against the tight like Barnsley defence, I think the 13th in the XG table, so they don't like create many chances, or like they don't score much. They've got a very good defence, so I can see it being a tight game. Like not like best like easy on the out, but two like very good tactical like teams to watch tactically. I feel. I think Daryl DK and all has improved Barnsley's XG output by 0.3 goals a game. I think so. Like, he's gonna be massive for him, especially like against a good defence in Swansea. He's been brilliant to watch and all. I think he's only 21 and all, 21. So as a young striker, he's like coming to one of the most competitive leagues in the world. I think he's done a good job and would be important for Barnsley. Matt, what do you think about DK? You get to watch him every week.
Quite honestly, one of the best strikers in the league. Definitely top 5. His pace and his power, with his build and everything like that, he's got it all as DK. He's got it all in spades. He's got amazing skill and he knows where the back of the net is. And I don't know how much you will know this, but a few weeks ago, just after the playoffs were confirmed, there was talk that DK's loan ended before the playoffs, so he might not have been able to play for us. But luckily, Orlando City have allowed us to have him throughout the playoffs, so that's a huge boost for us. I think that gives us a lot more of a chance with DK, and he's just a phenomenal player. And I think signing Carlton Morris was big to get us up the table, but without DK, we wouldn't be here. It's as simple as that, really.
We've seen how important it is because Barnsley have won 13 out of the last 18 games, so I think they are the form team of the Championship over an extended period. So it's good to see how important it is to club, to team. Now it suits your play style. Will, what are your thoughts on the game? Oh, actually, go on, Mate, if you were going to say something. Sorry.
You are, sorry?
Were you going to say something?
No, I wasn't, don't worry.
That's it. Will, what are your thoughts?
That's quite controversial, really. I'm actually a big fan of Barnsley's, which is strange coming from a Wednesday fan. I like the manager, I like the play style, I like a lot of their players. Alex Moa is one of my favourite midfielders in the Championship and has been for many
one of the
years.
Standouts in our side, I must say.
Yeah, even back to his days at Leeds, I always wished we had him. He was always that player. And as much as you won't hear this from many Wednesday fans, I do hope that Barnsley end up going up this season. I hope they do it in the playoffs. Corley Woodrow is another player from his Fulham days. Didn't score many goals for Fulham, I don't think, but he always sort of stood out for me there when he had Dembele alongside him. I think, like I said earlier, I think Barnsley are probably the underdogs, if you like, even though in terms of form and how they shot up the table, they shouldn't really be. But if you were to look at the quality of players from statistics and stuff, I guess you could class them the underdogs, but I think they're far from it, really. Going to Swansea, Swansea for me have been one of them sides that have been hit and miss this season. They've had a few injuries come in and out. They've got, again, another midfielder in Conor Hourihane, who I don't really know how he's playing in the Premier League currently. So we say about the first game being one to watch, but this is definitely one I wouldn't be missing and won't be missing on Monday.
Swansea have lost the most games against the top 6 teams, and Barnsley are undefeated. So, as you said, like the same with playoffs, is no team's really the underdog. It might be on paper, like quality of players individually, but like no team's the underdog. It's like you say, it's a lottery. I think impossible to predict from like either team. Like if you're a fan of the team or from a neutral, I think that's the beauty of the playoffs, in my opinion. I think we've covered everything.
See, there's one thing that when mentioning Swansea, there's one player who no one's spoken about, and I'm very surprised no one's mentioned him actually. Andre Ayew, yeah. I think he could be the difference maker for Swansea against us. Obviously, fingers crossed he won't be, but yeah, I think he could very much be the difference maker for Swansea, definitely. You know, and
Is Hourihane fit?
I think he is.
Is he fit? Oh, that's going to be fun.
Yeah, I think so. And then obviously, like Will mentioned, Conor Hourihane as well. You know, he spent 2.5 years, I believe it was, at Barnsley, so I know about his qualities so much, and you know, I still miss him to this day. So it's going to be hard to see him play against us in the playoffs. But yeah, he could be another difference maker for Swansea too. I think
that's going to be an intriguing battle. Two at best, like technically gifted midfielders, Alex Moat versus Conor Hourihane. Like two brilliant passes of the ball, like both like good set piece takers.
I think Moat was actually our Hourihane replacement, so that would be interesting to see how much that comes up.
Swansea's a defence. I think Ben Cabango, like a lot of notice goes like Mark Gahey, but if Ben Cabango's fit, I've seen him in a lot of big games. Like he is quite a big game player for such a young lad. I think like his standout qualities is good on ball, is good in air. Like he reads the game.
All against us this season.
So I think I know there might not be many goals, but it'll still be like a good game. I think two teams who are tight defensively. And I said earlier, like you need them standout players, and I think every side in the playoffs has got that quality. Have got them players, so I think it will be interesting to see.
I think on aggregate across the two games, I think it's one of them that could be decided by the odd goal, Barnsley versus Swansea.
I think Matt Grimes as well. Like I think he's missed 3 games in the last like 2-3 seasons. I think I read somewhere like other week. So I think he's always fit. Like, he's always consistent figure in their team. I think him and Hourihane, and I think who else starts for them? Jay Fulton. That's the top midfield, that, especially with Lowe and Ayew up front. And Connor Roberts and Bidwell, like, they have got a top team. So yeah, it'll be very interesting. Like as always, I'm looking forward to playoffs, no matter what teams are in it.
With the players they've got like going forward, you know, with Ayew and Hourihane obviously go forward, I think they will come at us a bit, but I've just got to hope that, you know, Hellick, Anderson, they stand tall against a big side like that. You know, it's going to be difficult for us. I already know that. Like, I'm already starting to feel the nerves going into it, but you know, it's I think if Hellick and Anderson and Solbauer or Civic, whoever starts on that side, if the back three can keep them quiet and we do what we can do going forward, you know, with DK, Morris, Woodrow, Chaplin, even if we need him, Freezer, you know, so many players to name, I think we do stand a really good chance. And I'm not saying that Swansea are a bad side, because they are a very good side, but I think Swansea are the best team we could have probably played. Like, out of the three sides, I'd have wanted to avoid Bournemouth and Brentford, so I think Swansea are probably the best side we could have played in the playoffs.
Where do you think this comes from? Like it just come out of nowhere, this Barnsley team. Like Ismail coming in, this like mass instant spark. Like, what do you think like helped it? Like, did anyone see this coming? Like, as a Barnsley fan,
you see, he's made it simple for the players, really. You know, he's sort of coming. He plays a style that everybody can play. You know, with the wing backs overlapping. You know, he plays very risky football. I mean, the centre backs are on the halfway line, for heaven's sake. But yeah, he plays a very attacking brand of football, but it's more direct. Like last season, a lot of teams have seen Barnsley play and they've seen, oh, why are Barnsley where they are? They're a very good pressing side. problem is we were pressing going forward really well, but we weren't good at the back. This season, obviously signing Mikael Helix made us much stronger at the back. Mads Anderson's come along too. And then this season, obviously, from January, at the start of the season, like in the first half of the season, he had a backup forward line of Luke Thomas, George Miller, and Victor Adebayo, none of which are championship standard. He had that in the top 10. So I think having the backing that he's been given and finally getting some quality players, DK, Morris, I think that's what's helped us to go further forward, really, to go further up the table.
You speak on Helic and Solibauer, or no, Anderson, sorry. Like, where do you reckon them Anderson and Helic rank in terms of defensive partnerships you've seen, either this season or just altogether?
As a defensive partnership?
Yeah.
So
they're both
probably
as well.
Very much up there. At the very least, top 3, I would say. People might disagree with me on that, but I think the only 2 that I can think of that come into contention close to that is Sierralta and Trusty Kong at Watford and Gu and Cabango at Swansea. So I think they're very much up there, definitely. And then as an individual, I'd probably say Helic's the second best centre-back in the league, only behind Grant Hanley. And then Anderson's not quite top 5, but maybe nearly up there. So I think definitely as a partnership, they're easily up there. They just understand each other so much, and it's what helps us really.
We'll touch on Brentford Bournemouth game a bit more. Ivan Toney, one of the best players we've ever seen in the division. Obviously broke the goal scoring record at the weekend. So I think it'll be fascinating to watch him. It's such a big occasion, I feel. Will, what you haven't added much on Bournemouth Brentford?
Yeah, Ivan Toney, I was actually listening to a podcast just before I came on here, and there was a bit of a debate over has he had the best individual season ever overall for a striker, away from the stat-wise of it as well, just obviously breaking the all-time goal scoring and whatnot. And when they sort of asked us to think on our own, can you think of anyone better? And I can't. I think we're really lucky to have seen him this season. Yeah, he even had a couple of games off. I think it was 3 or 4 games off, injured. I think apart from that, he's been pretty much ever present, I think. And yeah, he's been absolutely phenomenal. And if the playoffs was all about the best players, then I think he'd be the difference. But often in the playoffs, you see these random players pop up and score who maybe haven't scored ever in their career to send clubs through. But I mean, the playoffs is different every year, isn't it? Sometimes we see clear winners who go through because they've got that quality, and sometimes we see players go through with experienced heads. So that one, like we said earlier, I think they're all games to be watched, and I think the final, whoever makes it there, is definitely going to be one you want to watch.
I think Bournemouth is a touchy club to predict, because Jonathan Woodgate, he hadn't had much experience. He weren't the best manager at Borough. Obviously got the sack. So I feel they have got one of the best, maybe probably the best squad on paper in the Championship. So I think they're such a tough team to call. We don't know what they're like. Wednesday and Forest, they're unpredictable. We don't know what team's going to turn up. Is it the one that's just lost 3 in a row, or the one that won 6 in a row?
Yeah, with all due respect to Bournemouth, and they've been brilliant this season, but with the right manager at the helm, which I don't think Woodgate was necessarily for them, it's scary to think what they could have done, because like you said, on paper, their squad is absolutely phenomenal. And, they strengthened with Pearson coming in from Preston. So with the right manager, if they don't go up and they manage to keep some of these players, admittedly, I think they'll struggle to keep a lot of these players they've done well to this season. If they stay down, then next season with the right man at the helm, they should be top 2 if they don't go up.
Would you all want to go up? I think, Matt, your answer's pretty obvious, but Lou, we'll start with you. Would you want to go up?
Oh, yeah. I think everyone is going to be backing Barnes. I think everybody likes an underdog story, but I think Brentford need to go up, to be fair. And I think that people potentially want to see the exciting attack of Brentford in the Premier League in action, because they are a very exciting team. And I think that, Brentford will retain a lot of their players if they do go up, but if they don't, I think they'll lose a lot of that squad again. But as Brentford do every season, they always buy players for cheaper that turn out to be better than the last set of players. But no, I'd say Barnsley obviously for the underdog story. But I think that Brentford, for me personally, I think that they need to.
I think Barnsley, like people just want to go for like just a bit of a meme club kind of thing. Like, oh, Barnsley is long ball FC, same at Prem, like playing at Old Trafford. But even though I don't like him, like obviously I don't like him, but like you said, an underdog story, and they are a top team to watch. They are actually quite a good team to watch tactically. So I think I would like to see him in the Prem. I mean, I don't mind like who goes up. I mean, they're not Wednesday. I don't like or dislike any teams apart from Barnsley. But I'd like to see like, all of them or any of them go up. Sorry, I think the
It
only
goes
people,
back to the meme. The meme is teams like Barnsley, and I think that's the meme that people are sticking with. The teams like Barnsley meme.
Yeah, definitely. You see, people call us a long ball team. It's that what's got us here, to be honest. So if being a long ball team, being long ball FC gets us fifth in the league, so be it.
It's a style of football, isn't it? If it gets you to where you want to be, if that's the style of football, just because one set of fans aren't used to it doesn't mean that another aren't.
You see, it's like I've said, last season I saw us play a pretty brand of football. We survived in the last minute of the last game, and only because of a -12 deduction for Wigan. This season, we're playing a less attractive brand of football, and we're fifth in the league. So, it's not all about the style, really, is it?
No.
As long as it gets you there.
You look at Cardiff, and when Mick McCarthy came in, and some of the football they're playing wasn't the prettiest, but he had a phenomenal start at Cardiff. I think for me on who to go up, I'm not that bothered about seeing Swansea or Bournemouth in the Prem again. Bournemouth are a team I'm not that bothered about seeing in the Prem. When they were up there, they didn't impress me too much. They stayed up for obviously quite a long time, but in terms of doing anything, they didn't really impress me. Swansea, again, I don't really have any affinity with. Barnsley, I'm a big advocate for Yorkshire doing well in football overall. In an ideal world, I'd love to see Wednesday United, Barnsley, Huddersfield, everyone all in the Prem. I'd love it. But Brentford as well, I really like how they run as a football club. I like how they sell on players. I like the players they bring in. So either of the two. But I would love to see a Brentford-Barnsley final, to be honest, because I think that would be the nicest setup.
I agree. I don't want to see Bournemouth go, especially like Norwich and Watford. They're just going to be like a bit boring. It's the same three teams that have just come down to go back up. So I think it's good to have a bit of a refresh. And even as a Wednesday night, I'm going to agree with Will. Like, it's got to be Bournemouth, Brentford or Barnsley. And even as a Wednesday night, I do want to see Barnsley at Prem. It's like it'd be a good away day for some of these fans. Like, good for Man U or Liverpool fans to come down to Yorkshire for a bit of a laugh. So like, of all them teams, I do want Barnsley to go up. I think it'd be good for Barnsley fans, not like you. So it's good to see these away days that you've never really had the chance to go to.
I mean, ever since I started supporting Barnsley, it's obvious really, but getting promoted to the Premier League has always been my dream. Like I've always wanted to see us in the Premier League ever since I was about 4 or 5. So to actually have the chance to be able to do it is phenomenal.
Sure.
I think we'll wrap up here because there's about 5 minutes left on this. So 40 minutes timer. But all right. Thanks for joining, participating. It's been a good conversation. Best of luck to Barnsley, to be fair, in playoffs. Cheers.
Yeah, here's hoping.
Cheers. Thank you.